Two undefeated stars, two journeys, one mega fight to make history. Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia, Saturday, live on.
How many subscriptions are you paying for? Rocket Money finds sneaky or forgotten subscriptions and subscriptions are you paying for? Rocket Money finds sneaky or forgotten subscriptions and
Let me see if I can take this feedback off of here. All right. We're set. Let me see here. As you see, we're not at the new studio because the microphones aren't hooked up yet. Still waiting for somebody, an engineer, to come by and hook up the microphones. Hopefully it'll be this week. Tony will be back Sunday. We will be filming Monday. I don't know where we're going to be filming at yet. But as you see, I'm back at the old spot. Today, so this story, I heard another YouTuber, I think last week, talking about, I think he was in the feds, maybe. I forgot who it was. But he's seen someone get baby oil, heated baby oil, boiled baby oil thrown in someone's face with glass in it. And what people do, or used to do back in the days, was they would, we used to get hot pots, we used to get stingers, and they would boil our water. And when people got into it with somebody, what they would do was they'd boil baby oil and crush up light bulbs and put in the baby oil. And of course, when you threw it in someone's face, it'd melt them, and then the little chips of glass would be up. Man, it was terrible. However, this time, what I've seen personally, it didn't happen like that. So let me back up a little bit. Back in 2001, when I was in Solano, I was in H dorm. I was on a level 3. I was in H dorm on B yard, where the hole was at. Anyone that been to Solano, they know about B yard. If you've been to the hole, you go to B yard. However, I was in a dorm. I was in H dorm. It was I don't believe there was no northerners in. I think it was all Southsiders. When I was there, all the northerners were in the cells. They wouldn't let them in the building when I was there. At least when I was there. So while I was there, there was some reputable people from Sacramento, reputable people from everywhere. This yard was cracking, and for some reason, the Sacramento car. When I say Sacramento car, I mean, so at Solano, some of us ran NC. This is in 2001. Some of us ran Northern Crip, and even though there was some Northern Crips there, some of us ran with the Sacramento car. It was just a bigger umbrella because Sacramento seemed to get into it with the Bay Area there every summer. There was a mini riot with the Bay in Sacramento. I think it was over drug territory, drug debts or whatnot. But all 3 years I was there, it was a riot in the summertime between Sacramento and the Bay Area. Now, without getting off path here, so there was an individual there, as you see my thumbnail, his name was Leroy. He was very feminine. And when you're in prison and you have feminine ways, people seem to pick on you and try you. So Sexy Leroy, we called him Sexy Leroy. That's what everyone named him, Sexy Leroy. He was a half-breed, half black and half white. His mom was white and used to tell us she lived at a nudist camp, a nudist beach or something like that. And that's where he grew up, on a nudist beach. So he had feminine ways. Was he gay? Not at all. He had a girlfriend. He used to write. I seen pictures of her, some little white girl out of Chico. So I think he was out of that area in Chico and Paradise, up that way towards Redding. So anyway, Sexy Leroy used to kick it with the Sac car in H dorm. And Sexy Leroy really was like a real soft-spoken, feminine kind of guy. He was tall and skinny. He was probably like, not real tall, he was probably like 6 foot, but he was skinny as hell. And he used to get his workout on, but he never grew, and he used to eat a lot. Anyways, so I was in H dorm with Sexy Leroy for probably a year and a half. And when I was there, I gambled a lot. I played pinochle all the time. When a dice game struck up, I was at the dice game. That's what I did in prison. I was gambling a lot. Of course, I was in the mix in the D game, but my pastime was gambling. Sexy Leroy liked to shoot dice. So there was a dice game, and it was a big dice game, and it was in H dorm, and it was at chow time. It was before dinner and chow time. And so after count, so we have a 4:00 count, and after count, they clear count, and then they let everyone off their bunks, and then you could roam around, smoke cigarettes, do whatever you want until chow time. Then people that want to go to chow line up and they go to chow. Well, this dice game was so big, hardly no one went to chow. Is in the back left corner by the damn by the showers. So everyone was down there shooting dice, right? So this Richmond cat, I'm not going to say his name. He was kind of like a bully, little short, stocky cat, and he was loud. He was really loud. And Sexy Leroy happened to get on the dice with this cat, and this cat kept taking Sexy Leroy's back fade. He kept taking it. He kept shooting with Sexy Leroy. Well, you know, if someone runs with you and you fuck with them, you back them. So of course, us being from SAC, we backed Sexy Leroy. So we was giving him money, and he was cracking this cat. He took this cat's whole locker. The cat was going back to his homie's barn, money, bringing items. So when you're shooting dice in prison, you're shooting deodorants, body washes, hygiene, all kind of hygiene items, right? Some food items, but mostly hygiene items. Sexy Leroy had this whole locker with the food, the hygiene, new shoes. He took this Richmond cat's everything. So when chow time came, some people went to chow, but a lot stayed back. This cat decided Sexy Leroy was a punk. He was gonna take his stuff back from Sexy Leroy that he lost in the dice game. You just don't do that in prison. It causes all kind of problems. And what he did was he fired on Sexy Leroy. He grabbed all the pile of stuff and moved it up under a bunk and fired on Sexy Leroy and started throwing this stuff in a bag. Sexy Leroy got up immediately and walked in the bunk area. No one knew where he went. In the bunks on one wall is 3 beds high. It's 3 bunks. So it's high, and then people got sheets hanging over them. So there's little cubby holes. You can't see through the dorm and see behind every bunk. So Sexy Leroy went behind someone's bunk or in his bunk area, whatnot. So we thought, you know, when everyone came back from chow after the police left for yard, there's only going to be one police in H dorm. Him and Sexy Leroy is going to go in the shower and get him up, because that's what happens. You don't want to fight in front of the police. Dude was out of pocket, taking off on Sexy Leroy right there out in the open. He should have just told him. But, of course, he was trying to gangsterize and take his stuff back, right? Sexy Leroy has something up his sleeve. Sexy Leroy went over there and got a hot pot and poured a whole baby oil in the hot pot and boiled the shit out of this baby oil. Now, the cat from Richmond already took all the items and put them up. I don't know where he put them. He didn't put them in his locker, because I'll tell you at the end of the video what happened, how I know all the items wasn't in his locker. So as people are coming back in from chow, in the middle of this day room, okay, so you could have your TVs on your bunk in this dorm. However, they got 2 TVs in the middle of the day room, going down the middle of the day room, 2 TVs, and there's like 3 benches to each TV. One's pointed this way, one's pointed this way. The blacks got one, and the Mexicans and whites got the other one, right? So the brother from Richmond decided he was going to go sit in the middle of this day room and watch TV like he didn't have a care in the world after he just fired on somebody. You just don't do that. Anyone that's been to prison, if you fire on someone and you don't immediately fight right then, you know it's coming. You know he's going to come get back, either stab you or do something to you, right? This dude was sitting there with his head up like this, watching TV like he didn't have no care in the world, and he didn't have a shirt on. I don't know what month it was, but it wasn't cold. It was probably in the summertime, because I remember everyone was walking around this dorm without no shirt on, right? Sexy Leroy was over there between the beds plotting. And I have to tell you, all the years I did in prison, this tops this is the most heinous shit I've ever seen. It was the grossest shit that it stuck with me. And I seen people get stabbed. I seen people hang themselves. I seen people jump off in tears, their brains splattered all over. But this right here, this was the nastiest, grossest shit I've ever seen in prison. Sexy Leroy boiled that damn baby oil, put lard or whatever else in that shit, but it was just hot. And he put it in a tumbler, and he had a face rag around the tumbler because it was so hot. He was holding with the face rag, right? Old boy from Richmond was sitting there watching TV, and Sexy Leroy stood right behind him. Dude didn't look back one time. And Sexy Leroy tapped him on the shoulder, and dude turned around, and Sexy Leroy threw this tumbler full of hot whatever baby oil and lard and whatever else was in there and on his face. And this dude was chocolate. He was a dark-skinned brother, right? The scream that came out this dude's mouth, it was like a broad getting stabbed to death. That's what it sounded like. It was a high-pitched scream. And when he turned around and started running, and we seen his face, it all was pink, and it was like melted. His face just felt like melted off, like it was just melting. It was the nastiest, and the smell of it. And what this dude did next is like, I don't know if he was in shock. He had to have been in shock. His face was gone. His neck was, oh my, it was just the nastiest shit I've ever seen in prison. This cat ran to the podium. Now, H dorm had an officer podium. Picture a gymnasium, and it had like a stage. Well, the officer's desk was up on the stage. It was about 3 feet high off the ground. So they stood up on this thing, and they could see all the beds from this thing. This dude ran up the stairs onto the officer's podium and started pointing just like this in front of everybody, everyone in the dorm. And he was pointing at Sexy Leroy. Sexy Leroy ran to the bathroom. He ran over there to the shop, and he was pointing at him. And this officer didn't even hit. See, I'm going to tell you something about correctional officers in prison. They know who bullies are. They know who loudmouths are. And when something like this happens to someone that causes trouble or is a loudmouth or stands out to them as a troublemaker, they don't want to help them. They don't tend to. He didn't press the button. He just looked it over there. He looked at him and was like, "Are you serious? Like, you're telling me in front of all these people that dude?" And dude was still screaming. Motherfucker, he was cussing at the cop now, but his face was just melted off, man. So eventually the nurses came, took him to the infirmary. The cop didn't have no choice but to handcuff Sexy Leroy was 3 days from going home. He still went home. I'm gonna tell you why. Well, I don't know exactly why, but I'm assuming that they didn't write him up for some reason. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, "What do you mean they didn't write him up? That's mayhem and all type of shit, right?" Sexy Leroy stayed there 1 extra day, and he went home. Now the hole in Solano is, I believe, 10 and 11 building or 9 and 10 building, and you could communicate from B yard to the hole because the hole is on B yard, and you could talk through cell windows, people in the hole. Sexy Leroy went home. This cat, we never seen him again. But the Richmond car, they was really tripping because this was, I guess, their big homie. He was somebody from Richmond. But after he did the pointing on stage, I mean, you can't back that. You can't make an issue out of someone that's telling, right? So there was no issue after this happened. But I wanted to tell this true story because it goes to show you how never judge a book by its cover. Sexy Leroy looked like he wouldn't hurt a fly. He talked like it. He walked like it, like a feminine ass dude. He was like a pretty light-skinned cat that talked real soft, had a funny walk, and you would think he was gay when you first met him, but Sexy Leroy wasn't gay, and the gangster came up out of him. He hung around with the Sacramento car for over a year and a half, and I guess he's seen a lot of shit that we was doing, and Sexy Leroy became a gangster. He might have already been a gangster, no one just knew it, but it came out that day. And Sexy Leroy wasn't having it. He wasn't letting no one fire on him. He wasn't letting no one take. And so when the cops came to roll up old boy shit from Richmond, his locker was empty. So somebody ended up with that shit in that dice game that Sexy Leroy got. And we wasn't concerned about it. Sexy Leroy was gone in the hole. And, it is what it is. But it goes to show you that in prison, you never know what somebody might do. You could run into squares that look like squares, but they're straight killers. You might run into somebody that don't have no tattoos, wears bifocals, and you think that you could punk him, and he'll kill you. It's crazy in prison. You never judge a book. The loudmouths in prison, they always turn out to be the soft ones. The ones that are always woofing and talking loud. They're the ones that end up being either soft rats or something's wrong with their paperwork. And that's just how it is. The whole time I've been in prison, I've seen a lot of loudmouths get dusted off. They try to make a name for themselves by woofing. You can't woof in prison. You can, but very sooner rather than later, someone's gonna test you in prison. I don't care who you are, what your name is. Somebody's gonna test you. There's always someone bigger and badder in prison. They got your whole card, and you will get tested. But Sexy Leroy, man, I like that cat, man. That cat, his gangsterism came out, and I kind of was proud of that moment because he was with us. He wasn't a gang member. He wasn't a Crip. He wasn't a Blood. He just kicked it with us, man, for a year and a half. And when Sac went, if we went up against the Bay Cat, if we went up against someone else in another car, Mexican or something, Sexy Leroy was right there in the riot. Like I said, every year I was there, I was involved in a riot. In the dorm and out on the yard. I think we had 3 of them. And dude who maimed him got released from prison. Wow, he got lucky. Corey, so I don't think he got lucky, bro. I think the cop that was on duty really knew Sexy Leroy wasn't a troublemaker. I don't believe he even got a write-up. I think they let him go home because dude was a known bully up in there, man. And, cops don't like that shit. Sexy Leroy went home, bro. It was crazy. What's up, these nuts? Austin, Texas in the house. Yeah, man, that shit stuck with me. And the other day, I watched this other YouTuber talk about he's seen someone melt somebody's face with some lard and shit, and that's what made me remind me of this story in there, man. And I had to tell it. Yeah, he got what what was coming to him. Corey, how you been, homie? When you gonna let me get you on here and interview you, man? I'm interviewing everybody on my channel. Live viewer. If you haven't already hit that like button, man. I can't see how many likes we got right now. If you ain't already subscribed, these nuts, you took your picture down. What happened? As you see, I'm not at the new studio yet. It's all finished, but I need somebody to go hook my microphones and my headphones up. I got the cameras hooked up, but I need someone on audio that knows how to hook that shit up to an interface Apollo Twin. It's a control that we run the microphones and everything on. I paid all this money for this studio equipment and can't get this shit hooked up, man. I need this shit hooked up. Oh, shit. So that's my story, my true story. I think this is episode 16 or 17. Go ahead and hit that like button, hit that comment, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification button. I got a special guest, someone that's was in the Black Panther Party coming up, Booker T. You might want to check that out. It's scheduled for Sunday. I don't know if it's going to happen Sunday. I might have to move the date up during the week, but he's coming. Booker T from Sacramento, Black Panther Party. He was there with Huey P. Newton, George Jackson, all of them. He was on the front lines with them. You don't want to miss that interview. He's a professor now at Sac State College. He made something of his life. He's a professor at Sac State College now. So you don't want to miss that. Every day I'm going to do a video now. I'm back on. Every day I'm going to do something for you guys. I got numerous prison stories. I'm trying to like wham out and don't give you guys too many prison stories every day, but I got a lot of them. I wrote them down since I've been gone. I've been writing down all my little prison stories at every prison. What I should have did, it might not be too late. I should have gave you guys a story about every prison I was at, because there was something that happened at every prison I was at. But I've been going through it and just bouncing around, not giving them in order. But I got a lot of prison stories for you guys. Vicente, what's up, cuz? You know what? I think I might come over tomorrow and watch the fight, because I think I'd rather be over there with you than anywhere else, man. I'll pick up my chainsaws from you. So mark me there. I'll come over. If you want me to bring something, just hit me. I'm gonna call you as soon as I get offline, Vicente. That's my little cousin. It's my heart right there. Just went over there and cut him and his wife's tree down last week for them. And that's what you do for family. And he's having the fight tomorrow. So what y'all think about the fight tomorrow, man? I got Javante. I got Tank. And I believe he's going to knock out. It's not going the distance. I believe he's going to knock him out 4th or 5th round. He starts slow sometimes. Tank starts slow. Like first round, he feels you out. Yeah, Tank gonna win. Yeah, I seen some horrible shit, bro. And that takes the cake, though. I seen people die, like numerous people die, but that right there, the smell and man, you figure a dark-skinned brother just turned pink and his face is melting and it's crooked and it just looked like plastic, man. It was it was horrible. My cousin thinks Ryan Garcia is gonna win. And he does. I'm not saying he don't have a chance, but watching both of their fights, I went through all their fights the other night. Last weekend, I watched all their fights. I was at Thunder Valley, had a room to myself, and just watched all Tank's fights and all Ryan Garcia fights. And I don't think Ryan Garcia is ready for Tank Davis. I really don't. He does have a lot of speed, but I don't think he's ready for that power, man. His chin is very questionable. He's been dropped by a soft, not even a long punch, a short right he got dropped by. All right, y'all. So I'm going to end this. Stay blessed. Tell the people you love them. And stay tuned for tomorrow. I'm going to give y'all a video a day. It's going to be after the fight, though. It's going to be tomorrow night. I've seen prison YouTube videos about prison where dudes said incidents similar to your story happened. Yeah, it's happened numerous times, bro, but that's the only time I've ever seen it happen. I've heard about it happen hundreds of times. But that's the only time I ever witnessed that to happen. All right, so stay blessed. Tell the people you love them, and check me out tomorrow. I'll probably be on about 8 or 9 at night. Probably gonna go have me a drink tomorrow with my cousin. I don't drink no more, but going over there, I know I'm gonna end up drinking because he likes to drink. All right, check y'all out tomorrow. Stay blessed, and tell the ones you love them.